Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our fireside chat with the unbelievable and fabulous Bethany C. Meyers. I am so excited to have them on and have them join. And I think I just see them here. So let me see if I can get Bethany to join. Let's see here. Hopefully that works. I don't know about y'all, but like all these updates on Instagram Live is just crazy. Hi.
Hi.
It is so incredible to meet you.
I'm so happy to be here. This was the smoothest connection into a dual live Instagram that I think I've ever had.
So anybody who knows me knows that the tech absolutely buys me. So I think a gift from money just to say we're going to throw something. But welcome. So incredibly happy to have you here. For those who don't know Bethany, I'm so happy that you've had an opportunity to meet them. But Bethany is the founder and CEO of the organization, and I cannot say sensation enough, truly, project. And I have to tell you, Bethany, the way that I first learned about you and your amazing project was I was in a Health at Every Size therapeutic Facebook group, and someone put up there, does anybody know of any new races safe for folks that live in higher weight bodies? And within like 5 minutes, about 6 different people put your name and the Become Project. And so thank you for taking this time to meet with us at the Alliance. So first and foremost, for the folks
Sorry, I just want to flag really quick. You're cutting in and out a little bit for me. I moved my phone some. I'm not sure if it is for anyone else, but there's just a few words going in and out. So just flagging that piece.
All right. See, the technology gods always love me. So there you go. So I'm going to just let me know if you can hear. Let me know that'll be good. But in the meantime, for those of you who haven't had a chance to and don't know of your amazingness, do you mind sharing a little bit more about who you are and Become Project?
Yeah. So, well, thank you for that incredible introduction. That was really wonderful. And it makes me so happy to see how many people mention the Become Project when seeking out something like this, because that's always been the goal of Become. I started the Become Project about 2.5 years ago, and just out of blood, sweat, and tears, but also out of need. I've been in the fitness world since I started my career, pretty much right out of college. And I was very engrossed in all of the diet culture and, the idea that I was thinking about the other night, the amount of times that I wrote copy for fitness websites about the workout, shrinking the sides of your waist and doing all of these physical things without ever talking about the mental benefits that movement really brings us. And a big part of that was because I didn't even know, and I had an eating disorder for years. There was times when it was very, very severe and other times when maybe it wasn't as severe. But as I started to work to heal that piece of myself, that's when I started to reevaluate my relationship with movement. And that's when I started to find freedom, and I was like, everyone needs this. Everyone has to have this. Who's doing this? Who's teaching in this way? And it was out of realizing that it didn't really exist, that it just became so important to create it. If you can't find what you want, then make it yourself. And so I guess that's a little bit of how Become, even just, how the idea of it came to be, and a little bit about me as well. But I just want to start this conversation for everyone who's listening today. I like to give a caveat that is, my journey is not done. I do not have all the answers. And I'm constantly learning and finding ways to draw more people into this workout, to include more bodies, to include more people and more experiences. But, there's never an end. There's never an end. So I'm here learning just as much as all of you are here learning.
I so appreciate that, Bethany. Thank you so much. I'm not sure how much you're familiar with the Alliance and with me and my journey. I'm someone of lived experience as well, and I was a professional ballet dancer and really loved movement. And for so long, my eating disorder stole that from me. And definitely, you talk so beautifully because it's really been a joy to learn more about you and just really dive into and lean into the philosophy that you bring. And I really want to thank you for that because I feel like movement was taken away from me for so long because I couldn't move because of my experience with my eating disorder. And I had a lot of shame back into, movement and taking care of my body and moving my body because historically for me, those spaces were super triggering. It was for me, moving my body was because I needed to punish myself because it was compensatory. Um, and you've really created that shift, I think, with the Become Project of really this mindset of moving to make you feel good, moving to love your body again. So being in a space that is so often very punitive around movement, and as you being someone who's recovered from an eating disorder, how have you navigated that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Again, still navigating this. But I think becoming educated is incredibly important, right? And I would say that even now, I mean, I'm still breaking down walls of diet culture and what my idea of health is and what it looks like, and learning. And so there's a couple good places to start, specifically with books. I think I'll shout out Intuitive Eating, as well as Fearing the Black Body. I think those are really great places to start to kind of understand this. And then the more understanding you have, the more discerning you can be when you're making choices of who to subscribe to, who to follow, who to listen to, who to work out with. I'm a really big believer that language is important. And so, as an instructor, the way that I think about language is so vital to the way people receive. So like a little example that has nothing to do with body, right? As an instructor, there's a difference if you tell someone to grab something or to place their hands in something, right? Your hands move differently. So if I don't want them to tense in their hands, I'm going to say place your hands. And that also works with the way that we talk about exploring movement. So I know, like, one thing I'm really working on with my clients is breaking down the stigma around modifications. And I call them alternatives. I don't even use the word modifications, because the truth of it is that when you try to do an exercise that is too hard for where your body is, you won't feel it in any of the right spots. So actually all you're doing is like hurting your joints, right? And so if you take an alternative according to what your body needs, you're actually able to feel it in the right spots, which technically makes it harder, right? It's not a way to make the move easier. It's a way to make it right for your body. And so as instructors, we've been taught to push our clients to a new level, right? And you do want to do that, but you also have to do it in a way that respects the body. So for me, when I'm in classes or I'm hearing what people are saying, I'm listening to the way that they're talking about movement in relation to body. And I think little things like that can really help you be more discerning overall. Just a client the other day was like, they wrote me a message. They said that their work was doing this like Zoom workout call, and they got on and they were like, oh, I realized why I love the Become Project. I just forgot what language looks like. And they were like, I, on my own, took alternatives that I needed. And normally I would have felt really bad and really ashamed for doing that. But I could kind of hear your voice in the back of my head, and it was okay, right? And I think a huge part of the work is making a space where people can feel okay.
Yeah. And welcome,
Yeah.
I think so often what I hear from folks that are finding their way back to exercise or trying to move body, if, you know, they've gotten the clearance, if they have the mobility, if they have the ability, is just how shaming it can be if you can't do things a certain way. Pause.
You're
Okay,
back.
good. If they have to do like an alternative, for example, but also if they don't look the part of someone who's moving their body, you know, so that is so important. Um, and I have to tell you, I was actually speaking to our amazing project coordinator, Lori, earlier today, and I actually said to her, I said, I love how Bethany gives folks the option to show up as they are. And I think that for folks that are navigating, you know, many of our community navigating the journey of recovery is realizing that you definitely might have to lean into alternatives, like you say, or there's going to be some truths about it, and there's already so much shame and stigma that's shrouded eating disorders, mental illness. It has always felt like just one more layer of shame, and when you open that possibility up and you tell folks that you see them and that you hear them and that this is a safe and welcoming space for them, they can show up as they are, and that's when you just see them just totally become who they were always meant to be. So
Become.
absolutely, there you go.
Totally. And you know, I do want to address to the group here. I'm a thin-bodied person and an able-bodied person teaching these classes saying all bodies are welcome, right? And I'm a body that has always been accepted in fitness.
Yep.
And this is one of the biggest conversations of the Become Project internally as a team.
Mm-hmm.
How do we loop more bodies and more people into the conversation? So I am so excited for even the next plans that we have. We're going to be launching some really cool stuff. But all of that being said, that doesn't take away my responsibility to invite as many people to be able to show up in my class as they are. And I just think that that's been a big focus for me, is to really listen and to learn. Like just looking at the last year of how I've shifted teaching, language, created more moves. I mean, it's like, it's
Beautiful.
so incredible to get to learn from people, right? And that's the job, is just to always be growing.
I love that. I love that. So I think this is a perfect segue into my next question for you. In your TED talk that you did, and what I love that about your talk is you talked about like a trigger warning at the beginning, and I felt that that was so appropriate. Thank you for doing that. As someone who has been in many rooms where I'm like, wow, I didn't see that coming. I really, really respect that. You said something that has, in a sense, become really, I would say for me, like my North Star over the last few years. For me, body positivity and body love has never really felt authentic and never felt right. And for me, you know, being in recovery 2 decades from my eating disorder has almost also been a shame point for me of like, I don't show up every day and love my body. And you said so beautifully that some days you'll love your body, some days you'll hate your body, but all days you will respect your body. And that is, to me, that is the essence of where I believe that recovery, like that's the pinnacle of recovery, right? Is that, you know, you're going to have some days anyways. You're going to, before you even look in the mirror, you're already deciding how, because of stuff going on, right? Tell me more about that body neutrality and how you came to that and what it means to you.
Yeah, that love your body, hate your body, respect your body. That was a big thing that stuck out for me as well. And I go back to that often. I think going in a little bit deeper, you know, I think first of all, acknowledging the fact that body positivity did wonders for where we are today. You know, body positivity got the conversation on the map. Black women brought that Black women of size brought that conversation into play.
Mm-hmm.
And it has gotten us to new levels. So I do not hate body positivity by any stretch. But what I think happened is we started to get in that conversation, and then we got deeper into the conversation, right? So now the language is just evolving even more. And I think like for body positivity, you know, like you just said, you're just not you're never 100% positive about something all the time. Like it just, take the thing you love the most. Sometimes you hate it the most, you know? And like, who are the people out there with kids? Like, you're like, I love you, but okay. So I think that when we try to tell ourselves, yeah, we're going to be positive all the time, and then you have a day where you feel bad about your body, it's just like one more thing that you failed at, you know?
Yeah.
And so body neutrality is like, what if it wasn't about the body? Like, what if we didn't really have to love it or have to hate it, or we just recognize the fact that bodies are the exterior shell, they are the container that walks us through this world, and like they hold our real self, right? The real self is on the inside. And so what if it just wasn't about the body, and like it's just more neutral about the body, so that we can exist and focus on the things that really do matter. And I think trying to take that distinction and take it away from the body, and I'm still working on this every single day, right, is it's just really powerful, you know? And then of course you're gonna have days where you love your body and you're like, I'm in the swimsuit and the stretch marks are out and the whole thing, and you know, you can get into it. But you know, I love body neutrality because there's no way to fail.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I, you know, for me, my passion, my love is, you know, eating disorders awareness and recovery, and that there is life beyond eating disorders. And, you know, I experienced my eating disorder at a time where the only folks that were talked about was Karen Carpenter. And it's really funny sometimes when I talk about Karen Carpenter, people are like, I have no idea who you're talking about. And Tracy Gold, because that was like my age group when I was growing up. And I had never known anybody who had successfully recovered from an eating disorder. And so as I started on this journey, I was like, is this even a possibility? And I remember at the beginning of breaking into the eating disorder community, the field, I was at this conference one day and they were talking about, is recovered possible? And this professor comes up and talks about the fact, well, if you have a bad body image, you're no longer in recovery. And I remember just sitting there, and I'm a little bull in a china can. Sometimes like I can smile and play the game until I realize that there's going to be harm done. And that's when I start like using my voice. And I really, so I stood up and I said, you are holding us up to these unrealistic standards, those of us who live a life in recovery. I don't think there's a single person who wakes up every day, looks in the mirror and loves their reflection. Why are you having us try to reach that unrealistic ideal? So when we don't hit it, we're another failure. You know, it's sort of going back to what you're talking about when you can't do like those specific, you know, exercise moves exactly right. Like you failed at that. And so what I really connect to about body neutrality is this idea that it's really okay how you feel or where you feel, but you're still going to show up. You're still going to do life. You're still going to take care of yourself because you deserve to. And you're not the exception to the rule. Like I say this all the time in our groups is that, you know, I ask people what makes you so damn special. And I say it with so much love because you do get to show up. You do get to live life in your body. So I really appreciate you taking that neutral approach. And I think that it's so beautifully present in the Become project with just body neutrality and inclusivity. So would love for you to talk more about that. Like, how has that become really one of your pillars and really one of your North Stars at the Become project?
Yeah. You know, I want to tack on a little bit to what you said, and this will segue into this, but there's so much value. I think there's so much value in the bad days. And I'm thinking particularly about clients. This happens all the time, but we just got it last week where a client wrote me and they were like, I hated the routine this week. I couldn't do any of it. I got done and I just cried. And like, normally you leave me feeling really great. And this time you didn't, you know? And I wrote back to them and we just kind of ended up like having a big talk about like, what does it mean to have a bad day? And what else was going on that maybe caused that? And like, is that something that maybe you needed to kind of feel? And then I said, you know, there's a couple options here. You may go back and do the routine again and hate it again. You may go back and never touch the routine again. You may decide you never want to touch it, or you may go back and end up that you actually have a completely different experience with it, you know, and whatever you decide to do, I'd be interested to hear. Well, they ended up writing back and they were like, I did it again. And oh my God, it was a completely different experience. Right.
Amazing.
And I think just like even that moment of having something so bad, then having permission to experience it again, to not experience it, to feel any way that you want about it, right? And then to have that after of like re-experience it, like there's something so powerful just in that I think actually mirrors our everyday lives, you know? So yeah, so with the Become Project, some of the ways that we've incorporated kind of this aspect, or that we work to be different than some of what you see out there, aside from like the language that I use in class, the alternatives that are offered, the fact that we don't talk about weight loss, there's some pieces that are built in. One is routine repetition. So instead of a big library of videos that you go and scroll through on your app, there's one video. There's this week's routine, and then there's also last week's routine. And later we'll end up having some more features with options, but there will always be a focus on this one routine. It's amazing because you don't have to clutter your mind with other stuff. You can watch yourself get better at it as you're doing it, right? Usually in fitness, you know you're getting better at it because you're like measuring yourself, or you're standing on a scale, right? That's the measure of progress. And this isn't. It's like a very tangible progress from beginning of the week to end of the week. And that was definitely on purpose. I was like, people are doing too much. They think they need to go and do all this shit. Sorry. And they don't. Like, just do. That's how we learn everything in life. That's how you learn a new language. You repeat it over and over and over again. It's how you learn to play piano. That's how you learn to walk when you're a baby. So I love this idea of repetition. It also creates community because everyone is doing the same movements all week long. Clients ask me questions, I answer. Like, I think there's a really cool aspect that makes it feel live. And then we also do, we have an emotions check-in before and after each workout. And this is my favorite aspect. And when I talk about ways that we're going to grow, this is also part of it. But right now, before you do the routine, a question pops up. How are you feeling? It has different options for emotions. You can click, or you can write in your own. And then the same thing happens at the end of the routine. And the goal is not that you all in a sudden, like at the beginning, I felt like crap, and at the end, I felt amazing. Sure, that happens a lot. But the goal is more about just taking a moment to be like, how do I feel?
Yes.
How did movement affect the way that I feel today? You know, and there's so much power in that. And so, yes, those are a couple examples of little ways that body neutrality is really at the pillar of who we are.
And I love how you're connecting to self, because I think that for so many people, there's that disconnection between mind and body. I think for a lot of folks that experience negative body image, disordered eating, or eating disorders, it's that complete, like the head is over here, the body's over here. So really asking to ground before mindful movement, in a sense, is allowing you to come together and to take that time, which I think so often we don't. And I think that that's just so incredibly beautiful. And really what I love, and something that's so important at our organization, at the Alliance for Eating Disorders, is we are an organization for all humans that exist, that experience eating disorders. So it doesn't matter who you are, you're welcome. We will support you. We will connect you to care. And I feel like there's so much of that inclusivity with the Become Project as well, is show up as you are, as who you've always been and who you could be, like, and not of like, let's change who we are. It's, we can be the gender identity we want. We can be, you know, the shape and size we were destined to be. Like, we can be all of those things. And I think it's so, so important, because I think so much of our world is so exclusive that a place to, you know, to be safe and to show up. So thank you.
Yeah, totally. I see Become Project clients on here commenting about the shoulder kisses.
I love kisses. want
I'll
to
share a piece about that. I took a yoga class years ago, and at the end of the yoga class, the instructor had us hug our knees and kiss our knee. And I kissed my knee, and I got really, really emotional. I believe it was like along this kind of healing journey, and it was like this surge of emotions. And I just started like doing it every so often, and I like, there's a piece of me that's like, is it going to feel cheesy? You know, like, are you going to feel like, kind of like cheesy vibe? And anyway, we started doing it. And now I just feel like it's such a little inside, not an inside joke, but like a little inside love fest with Become Project clients with this shoulder kiss and, you know, people doing it throughout their day. And it's just, yeah, little moments like that, they mean a lot.
I love that. And that was so special when you were talking about it. And so many things to me have stood out as I've learned more about you and more about the Become Project and like your talk and just your classes. And I think that it's so like, I think that these small things just make such huge impacts. And so I hope that there's so much more Become Project. I hope there's so much more Bethany Meyers that's coming up because I know for one, it was so amazing to me. I reposted on my personal social media feed last night. That literally is just about my 4-year-old child. But I posted about you because I was so excited about this conversation. And so many of the amazing humans that come to our groups that are part of our Alliance community responded, "Oh my goodness, I love the Become Project. It's the first time in my recovery that I feel like I can do a healthful movement and not feel that like shitty committee really start to tell me that I need to do more or I need to like punish myself or in order to eat X, Y, and Z, I need to do X, Y, and Z." And so it's refreshing and needed, and we need so much more of you. So I cannot wait. And just even to have, because, you know, I think something that's so important and when you've been through hell and back and I do believe those of us who have experienced eating disorders have, all you want to do is feel safe. And when you provide people those opportunities like your space, like our support groups, you allow people to grow. And, we didn't choose to have eating disorders, right? It's not something that we woke up one day, looked out the window and said, it's a beautiful day and insert city, I think I'm going to have insert eating disorder. They're biopsychosocial illnesses that, so many of the factors that make you a great athlete or a very successful CEO or whatever it is, those are the things that come together to create that perfect storm of having an eating disorder. And so I think that, it's so, so, so important. And it's so important for me to just create more and more spaces and to have more and more conversations like this, where we're smashing the stigma, we're creating conversations, and we're allowing folks to show up and get the help that they need and live the life that they deserve to live. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for this and for all the work that you are doing. And we've all had a really rough year.
Yes, we have.
2021 and like the past year. There's just been a lot. And, having moments of these like connection. And I think also just like in the midst of all the business stuff and doing all these things, but just going back to like the heart of it and what
right.
really matters, right? And like who the people are and like focusing on the good and the ways in which we're helping. It's just, just also for myself, like I think I very much need this conversation today. It's incredibly encouraging.
Same. And I have one last question for you before I let you go, because I know you have so much going on. So as you mentioned, 2020 was the dumpster fire that it was, and it basically brought us to our knees. I would love to know what's one thing or several things you did for self-care during this past year. How have you taken care of yourself during a very difficult year for all of us?
Yeah. I mean, I think that exists in a lot of different ways, but I'm going to give a little more lighthearted, tangible answers of two things that I really enjoyed in this past year. Over the summer, I did a garden.
I love that.
Working with my hands, I found is very important for me. Working with my hands really, really helps my mental health. I think I'm a tactile person. So getting to put my hands in dirt and nurture something was incredible. And then winter came and I was like, what am I going to do now? And I ended up having my old childhood piano shipped to me. I played piano from second grade to 18 years old. I hated it. I had such an icky relationship with it. And I've just developed a new relationship with playing the piano. And I think having this like hand piece where I can't look at my phone or think about anything else except the music on the page has just been really good for my brain all the way around. So yeah, those are two pieces that I'm holding near and dear.
I love that so, so, so much. I think, I definitely want to share that if you had a rough year last year, trust me, you're not alone, and there's nothing to be ashamed about, or definitely reach out if you need any help or support. And, just remember that we're still going through a pandemic. It's not a vacation. So if all you're doing is surviving right now, you're doing a good job. And know that there are resources like the Become Project, like the that are here to support you. And for those of you who don't know about the Alliance, please learn more about us. We have free virtual therapist-led support groups for all folks with eating disorders. We can refer you to all levels of care. And we have an amazing awareness, education, and just recovery-oriented event coming up at the end of February called Not One More Weekend that we would love you all to participate in. We're going to have an 16-hour support group marathon. So no matter where you are in the world, you can hop on in a support group anytime and get the help that you need.
So incredible.
Bethany, I'm so incredibly honored.
I'm going to just offer one more thing for those of you who are listening today. I guess I'm going to alert the team about this afterwards. But if anybody is a new client and watch this video and does want to sign up, we'll give you all $5 off on your first month. Not trying to be salesy, but just like if that's something that you want to experience. We also have scholarship funds as well as COVID relief funds. So we can definitely help support you all. But you'll need to send this video in a DM to the Become Project, not to me. I don't really check my DMs. Send it to the Become Project. Give us a couple days and we'll get you over something so that way you can start. It's $35 a month. Someone just asked.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's really wonderful. And hopefully we can do some kind of Become Project Alliance collab in the future. We're always looking, with organizations to get back to you, so we'll set something up.
I would love that. I would love that. So please take care of yourself, stay safe, and thank you for kicking ass and making the world such a better and safer place for all humans. So
thank you. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Oh, there's the dog. All right.